Ago fiha. Open your eyes and lend your ears and listen to our story like will never be told in all the textbooks which are set for us to study. Mind you, broaden your scope and let us be honest with ourselves, my people. Some things are difficult to address, yet who will bail the cat?
The book catalogs all the stories that have defined the Fourth Republic from the beginning until the end. As political journalists, we never cover stories without giving it a verdict. So from page 528 till the end, we call a set of stories the editorial stories. There we cast a verdict on most of the things we've written about and most of the things that have happened. I'll just read the headlines of the verdict, and when you get the book, you can read it.
A Fourth Republic did not come into being by way of external pressure either or by the activism of well-intentioned foreigners. The Ghanaian people themselves, through their institutions and political parties, navigated the processes and parameters of democracy with great assiduousness. This book tells the story of how this navigation occurred and details the specific role of particular individuals, political parties, the Supreme Court, the Electoral Commission, and the security services. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great pleasure to declare this book by Paul Adum Otri formally launched. I thank you.
I think indeed we must pay compliments to what Paul Adum Otri has done. Many of us have many experiences and all, but hardly will we have the time to put together our experiences, chronicle them in the form of a book. So indeed, this work for me is very important, very significant, and I recommend it to many people in the country.
It's important that we learn to script right for the records. And I think what our brother Paul has done is to be able to put his thoughts into writing, his recollection of history into writing, and his own opinions into writing, packaged and presented in this book. I believe, having worked with him for over 2 decades, that every element of the content of this book will stand the test of time.
But I always act in good faith. I shared with him, although private, but I will tender it since it has been raised. Videos of soldiers in uniform raiding the residence of Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. Mr. Speaker, indeed, he is right in saying that the man being spoken about as the one leading the team is now a civilian. That is true. Mr. Richard Jakpa, who works with national security, and indeed the one who led the soldiers, is a state security operative. But Mr. Speaker, the point is very clear.
Are you very sure that it's a state security operative?
Mr. Speaker, he says so. It's not coming from me. He confirmed. These are the words of the majority leader. It's not mine. This is Japan. That is what, so Mr. Speaker, yes, he has confirmed. He says he is a state security operative. It's not coming from me. Mr. Speaker, I have shared the videos with him, and I was fair in my dealings with him by saying that this is a matter that I want to raise. So, Mr. Speaker, let us be guided by what he has just told us and allow our colleague to proceed. I have gotten a signal from my respected colleague who has just been nominated as a deputy minister that he wants to withdraw that aspect of the submit. Oh, he says so. Please. It's not, Mr. Speaker, I will not impose anything on him. He signaled that in view of the caution from the leader, he wants to withdraw. If he wants to, that is his matter. I am only telling Mr. Speaker, that's signal is giving me. Mr. Speaker, let's be fair with each other. This democracy that you are celebrating today.
Minority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I'm concluding. Mr. Speaker, once upon a time, we had 169 seats in this house. You have made it, enjoy it, but let us be mindful. Let us be mindful that we are a family. I told us once some weeks ago that let us learn from the Jinapo brothers. I rest my case.
Hello. Good evening. So we have become democracy police, isn't it? Because tonight we can report that whilst we congratulate the cabinet of President Mahama, John Dramani Mahama has broken the first promise of his campaign 2024. Good evening, welcome to the show. Felix Ofosu-Kwakye today has announced the President Mahama's decision of who and whom will be part of his cabinet. 19 ministers from cabinet as dictated by the Republican Constitution of 1992. John Dramani Mahama, President of Ghana, with a good heart, made this statement during the campaign. At least 30% of my cabinet will be women if elected in 2024 elections. That was September 2024. President John Dramani Mahama, the elected president, said this, that 30% of his cabinet will be women. Today, Felix Ofosu-Kwakye announced the women, and unfortunately, President Mahama could not make the promise. Why are we all failing in this promise? Professor Mills failed in this promise. Nana Akufo-Addo didn't quite promise, but he became a gender champion, trying hard to push women in. But Nana Akufo-Addo didn't have a cabinet of 30% women, but he was the African gender champion. The question we are asking civil society today is that why are our politicians eager to promise that they will do something for women? Is it because the demographics shows that women have more voters? Because all our politicians promise that they will do something for women, they never are able to do it. I don't think President Mahama didn't want to do it. I'm sure when he arrived at the office, the circumstances dictated otherwise. So this is what he said. 30% of cabinet will be women. We announced to you tonight that he's broken his first promise. Now let's see why. Okay, it's here again, captured by GH1. 30% of my cabinet will be women. John Mahama, NDC flag bearer. Within the first 14 days of my presidency, I will nominate my cabinet, 30% of whom will be women. First 14 days of his presidency has also been missed. Cabinet was announced today, and so President Mahama, but that's not important. We can leave that. What we are concerned is how come that President Mahama, who really wanted to do this, was not able to do it? Is it that his party doesn't have enough women? Is it that there are not enough women he could have nominated to have 30% in his cabinet? I don't know why. The women groups should come and ask him why. Okay, so this is the cabinet. Congratulations to King Salatu Forsen, Finance Minister, Mubarak Muntaka, Interior Minister, Kwabena Minta Akando, Health Minister, Dr. Omane Boama Edward, Defense Minister. And then you have Dominic Ayini, Attorney General, John Abdullahi Jinapo, about whom we have a conversation tonight. Tonight, we have a big conversation with John Abdullahi Jinapo coming up as our second story, so just wait for it. John Jinapo, congratulations. He is Minister for Energy and Green Transition. Idrisu Haruna, Minister for Education. Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajare, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. She is one of the women. And then Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, Minister, Foreign Affairs. Emmanuel Amako Fibua, Minister, Lands and Natural Resources. Eric Opoku, Minister, Food and Agriculture. Please, has the cocoa price thing stood, or is there, what is happening? Eric Opoku got a bloody nose when the chief executive of Cocoa Board, our own Randy Abe, told him that, minister, stop misinforming people. Stop that. Tonight we'll deal with that story. Minister says 70%, Cocoa Board says stop misinforming people. That was on Tuesday. We don't know the latest. We'll find out. There's a cabinet meeting today, and I'm hoping that cabinet has something to say about that. All right. Next is Samuel Nate George, who is Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations. And then the list continues. Kwame Govins-Agbodja, who has a very special relationship with Metro TV and GH1. He's Minister of Roads and Highways. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Ken Ajay Gilbert is Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources. Ahmed Ibrahim is Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Then the next woman is Agnes Na Momolate. Congratulations to her. She is Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Joseph Bukari Nikwe is Minister for Transport. Abdul Rashid H. Pelpo, Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources. So at the end of the day, there are 2 women out of 19 ministers times 100%. The answer you get is 10.526 or 10.53. This is the broken promise of John Dramani Mahama. Sorry, sir. It can be very, very, very difficult. We know that you wanted to do it. Perhaps in the as part of your 4-year term, we'll get to the point where you'll be able to achieve this objective. But for now, this is a broken promise. We sympathize with the president. It's not very easy. And so we designed a montage for him for the NDC. John Mahama has announced his cabinet of 19. We know them now. But he had only 2 women representing 10%, a far cry from the 30 that he wanted.
Arise for Ghana, oppression of the land, forward and seek your future, development our God, from vision to victory, the NDC shall lead, able democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity, from vision to victory, the NDC shall lead, able democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. Strength to unity, from vision to victory, the NDC shall lead, stable democrat, Ghana, our strength to unity, from vision to victory, the NDC shall lead, stable democrat.
Okay, welcome back to the show, and thank you very much for your attention. So in the next 40 days or so, as media, we'll be considering President Mahama's first 120 days social contract with the people of Ghana, resetting Ghana, jobs, accountability, and prosperity. This was the winning campaign of the NDC, resetting Ghana in 120 days. Now, this document contains the things that President Mahama says he will do in 120 days. We've already showed you the first broken promise. Cabinet was not announced in 14 days, and cabinet was not announced with a 30% women. I'm not so sure whether the journalist put the question to Felix Ofosu-Kwakye today when he did his press conference, but that's a question that really should have come. I wasn't there. I guess it came. I don't know what Felix's answer was. But so we're going to be looking at this first 120 days of the President John Dramani Mahama, broken promises, or fulfilled promises. That's coming up much later, about 30 days. We're working on it. We're observing it. We have a barometer that is calculated. That's why this evening we're able to quickly see that this promise has been broken. Sorry to the president, and hopefully next time will be better. Now let's talk about ECG. Very, very important. So Minister John Jinapor has arrived, and all right, do you want me to go through the photographs of the protagonists I'll be dealing with? Maybe I should do that. Yes, okay. So on this ECG story, let's go back to, I'll go through all of them. And I hope you have the long list, not the three of them, the long list. Okay, yes, that one. So let me start from the beginning. Now, I'm going to talk about ECG tonight. It's very, very important. Don't just 7 minutes, I'll be done. But I'm worried because the Puyu is very worried tonight. And they are worried that the government of John Dramani Mahama is preparing to privatize the electricity company of Ghana. And they said it's not a good idea. It's terrible. It's bad. It will cost us so much money. It will make some people very rich. Majority of Ghanaians will pay so much for electricity. All of us, our pockets will be drained away if John Dramani Mahama proceeds to privatize ECG. Now, who are the key actors in this conversation? His Excellency the President, John Dramani Mahama. Next after him, of course, the most important person, Minister for Energy and Green Transition, John Abdullahi Jinapor. Then there is Eduji Tamaklo, is the Chief Executive of the MPA. And later on, I'll be telling you, maybe next week, how you can get petrol coupons from him. I'll tell you that, NDC full soldiers. You can get petrol coupons from Eduji. I'll tell you how. All right. And then there is the VRA, Chief Executive. Also, he's in the picture as well. Madam Hardcastle is at the Petroleum Commission, and that also has something to do with this. Now, there's Alexander Mould has just been appointed as the boss of MIDA, the Millennium Development Corporation. They are very important in this ECG privatization. It's a rigmarole that I'm going to explain to you tonight. Don't worry, it's coming. It's all coming. These are the key actors: Alex Mould, Hardcastle, VRA boss, Tamaklo, Jinapor, and His Excellency the President. Okay, let's get to the VRA story at the beginning. So let's leave all this out. Now let's get to the story. All right. So the question we ask, what is the problem? Now, the minister has said that he wants to privatize ECG. So let's begin the story with PDS. So MIDA and PDS. So MIDA was an important part of the whole PDS arrangement. What was the PDS arrangement? PDS was an arrangement that was inherited by the Akufo-Addo administration in 2017. It was an arrangement that was put together in 2016. It was inherited by the Akufo-Addo administration. What was PDS going to do? PDS was being set up to take up ECG. They were going to take up the most important commercial aspects of ECG's work. They would do that as a private company. They come in, they take a concession, they run the ECG, take their money, go away. And when they are running ECG, they will determine for PULC a